Steve, what were you using? What was your guitar rig with Zappa at the time?
Well, I had spent precious little time on my rigs because I was just out of college, high school even, when I moved to California and started working with Frank. And so I was kind of referring to him to see what kind of stuff he would use. Because really, for me, it was like, plug me in, I just need to be heard. I got to hear myself. I just hadn't the budget. Having a stack was like a fantasy. It was like, okay, all right, I can buy strings, you know? And
if I don't break them.
If I don't break them. Yeah. And then when they'd break, I'd actually have to fix them. But with Frank, I started to get more introduced to some quality amplifiers. Acoustic was one of them back in the day. I just never resonated with a Marshall, you know, back at those periods. Frank had Marshalls also.
Yep.
I tried in the beginning with Frank, but I think I did use a Marshalls for one of the tours I did, but it just wasn't the kind of friendly tone that I was looking for. So I never really gave much attention to looking for gear. And then eventually, Carvin came into the picture because of Frank, you know.
Yep. He had an endorsement.
He had an endorsement with them, so they actually endorsed me. So this was way back.
Yeah.
Which was, I finally had a stack, you know, and it was just so beautiful. But I did spend a little time in other kinds of amplification at that time. But then once new gear started to come out in the development of it, I started to get into it, like with Dave Roth, which there was I believe it was a Roland. It was actually the guitar itself.
Yeah.
It was a GR something.
700.
That was it, 700?
Yeah, that's right.
That was pretty late.
That was
in the 80s when I was in the Bears. I was using but I didn't use the guitar again, the big Behemoth guitar.
Yeah, that was the first thing that I had that resembled any kind of synthesizer sound.
Yeah.
But I could never, and then after that, companies would, you know, want me to try their new gear, but I could never find anything that tracked the way I played, or that I could figure out how to play cleanly enough, you know, to like where it made sense for me.
See, for me, that was that way too, but I wasn't nearly the fast playing guitar player. I never really tried to be a fast guitar player. So what I did is instead I made it so the things I played were meant not to be played fast. Like I would swell notes and do cloudy things and stuff like that. And I wanted to go back one step because when I was with Frank, I heard some guy who had, at a party I went to, they took me to a party and it was just, suddenly heard this amp really quietly, and I walked over and was listening. This guy was just playing nothing. It was the Jazz Chorus amp that we just mentioned. And I went back to Frank and told him about it. He had him bring over 2 Jazz Chorus amps. He didn't want one, and I wanted it. That became my amp, and it's that amp that really did a lot of the crazy sounds because I could get it to feedback and oscillate, you know, and do things like that.
They were beautiful amps. I had one of those, and that was one of my first good sounding amps for that spatial.
Clean, though.
Totally clean,
Very
but the
clean.
spatialness of it, because it had
It was
built-in
solid state.
Yeah.
There wasn't no tubes.
Yeah, and but then once the technology started getting more refined, I started using it more, and I have it on some records, but for for this gig,
right?
Once I started listening to the music, and I was very excited about, because I wanted to revisit the electronic guitar atmosphere. You know, I was waiting for a good excuse.
I'd like to take a second to talk to you about this channel. This is actually Rick Beato 2. I've had it since the beginning of my main channel, and many of you are not subscribed. As a matter of fact, 87% of the people that watch this channel regularly are not subscribed. So I encourage you to hit the subscribe button on this channel and on my main channel. This will help me get even more of my dream guests and help continue to grow both channels. Thank you.
And once I started listening to this music, I said, okay, now it's good time. So we called, Roland, and they have the newest system, like the numbers, Hey, Doug.
Yeah, GM 800.
Okay, sorry about that.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Doug. Okay. So Doug and I, my tech, we started to look into, because I knew I needed something that I had to get into those sounds. I mean, some of the things that Robert does is just so beautiful.
Yeah.
With the
GR300.
with the GR300.
Yeah.
You know,
very
but
first-
I can't go back to even finding one of those.
No, they're
you
hard to
know.
find.
I
I
have
have
one.
mine.
You know, I
But
have
you
one
can't have it
someplace.
because I'm going to have to use it on this tour.
But I think that there's. I'm going to first explore ways to build, because a lot of them you could pass them on to the next unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Roland is always making such good stuff for that.
So it is a factor right now as we sit here today. We don't rehearse for a few more months. In my mind, I'm trying to figure out how am I going to get those sounds now. I don't use that gear at all. And you can't take a GR300 and just plug a guitar
No.
or anything. It's got a big, huge
That like
D
100 pin connector, whatever it is.
Giant
Yeah.
thing, you know. So I'm concerned. But now that he's told me about the new Roland, I'm going to dig into it too and see if I can get close to those sounds, because they were.
Yeah.
It was a hexaphonic pickup.
That's right. Every string has a pickup,
Yeah.
and it gives it a real clarity. You can hear every individual string on it.
Now, see, my Parker Fly has that, but I don't know how to get from that pickup into that item. So I'm going to have to figure that one out. And I'm also even been thinking about whether or not to bring the jazz chorus so I can go woo 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 like I used to.
Oh, I think you should.
Yeah,
I mean, that was one of my favorite things
Or
back
just
then. If I
sing
couldn't
woo, woo,
think
woo.
of something to play, I'd just go back to my amp and do that, you know?